Many of faithful Christian in this country is wondering, how can we stem the tide of what is arguably the greatest public evil in our society, which is the murder of unborn children at such a catastrophic rate in our land. There's a lot of other things to talk about, but let's talk about that.
Yes.
What is it that can stop that? What can Christians do, practically speaking? It's very easy to be overwhelmed.
Right.
You hear the numbers, you drive by every day. Here we have a horrible murder mill, Planned Parenthood, one of the worst Planned Parenthoods in California here. They participated not just in the propagation of abortion radically, but they also have been participating in the sale of baby body parts that have been aborted. David DeLayden, who's a Southern California, has exposed this very heavily.
Went to jail for it. He's currently, isn't he on? He's being.
He's in court.
He's in court. Yeah.
He's in court. May God bless him.
May God
defend him. For his heroic and courageous and articulate defense of the lives of unborn children. He's an incredible person.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Christians drive by these places all the time, and they think, how can we make a contribution? And I would say, look. If the Spirit of Christ, which we've been discussing, is in us, rather than getting overwhelmed, we can do several things. One is we can embrace children in our own marriages.
Yes.
We can't communicate truth to a culture that children are precious, indeed the most precious, if we try to avoid them all the time ourselves. If we don't want to have children in our own marriages, how can we say that children are a great blessing and are very valuable?
That's what I was going to ask you next, Father. So we have the issue of people that don't want to get married, or people that push marriage off until later in life, and then we have another issue of people that do get married but they don't want to have children. So we have, in every direction, Father, we have all of these issues.
You're right, but we're not free to make marriage what we want.
Right, exactly.
When I have couples, the first time I meet with couples, I go with them over three fundamental purposes of marriage. I said, look, you want to get married? Let me tell you what marriage is, and then you can tell me if you really want to get married.
Right.
I said, marriage is designed for the procreation of the human race.
Of children,
marriage is designed as a solution to our own passions,
right.
1 Corinthians 7. Marriage is also designed to create what the saints call a sacred friendship, a holy companionship in the journey of this life. I said, so look, you say you want to get married, and then I'll ask the man. I'll say, what would you want me to say to someone? If a couple came, I told them what the three purposes of marriage was. But one of the husband said, you know what? I do really like my wife, and she is going to be my friend, just not my chief friend. I gotta stay with my buddies. I've been with these buddies since I was 14.
Yep.
I mean, we play basketball together. We get drinks on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday night. Right. And I'm still going to take care of my wife, but I can't replace them. I said, would you think that man's ready to get married if he's not going to adopt his wife as his chief friend?
Right.
The answer is no.
Right.
I said, and what if he came next? And I said, another couple comes, and I said, look, you have to be faithful to her sexually and no one else your whole life.
Right.
And he says, well, I had a lot of girlfriends. I want to be married to her, but can I keep the girlfriends on the side? I'd say, brother, if you have to keep the girlfriends on the side, you can't get married, because that's not what marriage is.
Right.
If you ask a person those two questions, I've always got the answer, of course they're not ready for marriage.
Right.
But then you take it to the third question. I want to get married, but I don't want to have children yet. Well, that's fascinating. So there's three purposes of marriage. The other two purposes you clearly see. If you can't do them, you shouldn't get married.
Right.
In this case, you're telling me you don't want to? Okay, I'm going to put off for 5 years until I get a house or until I make some more money. I'm going to put off having children. Well, can this man put off being faithful to one woman for 5 years after he's married?
Right.
Can he keep his buddies as his chief friends for 5 years after he gets married? I think not. Everybody knows that's nuts.
Right.
It's a package deal.
It doesn't work. That's not how humanity works, right?
This is God's definition of marriage. You either take it or you don't, but you're not free to make it up yourself.
Right. That's, and what that leads me to, what breaks my heart when I see couples, okay, good, they're married, maybe they've never been married before, so good, they're validly married to each other. But when I see that, they've been married we've been married for 10 years, 15 years, no children. What that tells me, I look at them and I say, these people are contracepting. They're using artificial contraception. And in my position, as a Catholic, the teaching is very clear against contraception. They said contraception, the church calls contraception an intrinsic moral evil. Contraception is no good.
Yes.
Contraception is no good. Contraception, it devalues the purpose of marriage. It devalues your spouse.
There's 100 evils of contraception. 100 evils, brother.
You are now abusing your spouse by using contraception. You're using your spouse just for your own. You're not giving yourself to your spouse. You're abusing your spouse, and you're using her for your own pleasure.
And also robbing yourself of the great wonder of children.
It perverts marriage. This is what the church teaches. Contraception is evil. It is evil, and it cannot be permitted, not even in the context of marriage. So that's another issue.
It's a huge issue.
We're stacking all of these issues, Father.
It's another expression of our society's abandonment of God and the traditional Christian way of life. Let me say, for those who are watching, that I've seen in my years as a pastor also the sadness of couples being infertile.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes couples go for years without having children because they can't have children. I've also seen many couples who are unable to have children according to the doctors, but they really yearn for children. And I've seen wonders that God has performed for couples.
Right.
We have numerous children in this very parish who were conceived after the couple fasted for 40 days, chanting the paroxysm to the Mother of God every night and asking for a child. And then after 40 days coming together and the Virgin has given them children. Not one or two. Not one or two.
Oh,
yeah, so
God always gives us
I want
more than we ask for.
I want to be sensitive to the couples that are infertile.
Oh, yes,
it's a great cross.
That is a cross. Yeah.
But also it's an opportunity. Just think of the many couples throughout church history who were not given children and they became incredible missionaries.
Right.
Really incredible missionaries. So you can do things. If God hasn't given you as a married couple children, open your eyes and pray and discern what does He want you to do that you couldn't do if you had kids.
Exactly.
That you couldn't do. There may be something really radical that the Lord's asking for you, and it's special.
Right.
It's not just something to be born. Mm-hmm. But this huge embrace, and unfortunately, it's despite the teaching of the Church, the Orthodox Church doesn't have a Humanae Vitae, although our patriarchs, when Pope Paul VI issued that, our patriarchs chimed in. Patriarch Athenagoras wrote him a letter and said, we agree with you 100%.
Yes.
And we have actually decades before that document came out, we have very strong synodal statements from the Church of Greece, from the Church of Romania, absolutely addressing this issue. You know, when even Protestants knew that this was a great evil. It wasn't until Lambeth. When the Lambeth Conference happened in the early 30s, when that happened, it opened the door, and then it was like a torrent that just blew through that crack. And in the West, especially amongst the Protestants, they just completely lost that ethic, the traditional Christian ethic of bearing children, which, by the way, was the first word the human ear ever heard from God. Be fruitful and multiply. First word of God in the human ear. Right. Keep that in mind. It's not a minor issue.
It's the first commandment.
Reproducing God's image.
It's the first commandment.
Right?
That's what I wanted to get back to, is that marriage is how you marriage is something that's sacred and it's holy because it's how you participate in the life-giving Trinity, in the work of the Trinity. It's life-creating. It's life-giving. God, in marriage, allows us to participate.
Yes, co-creators.
To become co-creators in His creation through marriage.
Yeah,
that's
a wonder. It is a wonder.
That is just beautiful.
It is a wonder.
Yeah.
But it's that loss of vision. You know, we started this conversation with protology, right? We started this vision with the glory of paradise. It's the loss of that vision of the multiplication of human life as unique, right? This is not like bugs multiplying.
Right.
This is not like larvae and gnats multiplying. These are human beings, eternal beings.
Souls.
Going to live forever.
Yes. When every time that you and your spouse, participate in the marital act, if it's God's will, God will create a soul.
Yes.
God creates a soul because you and your spouse participated in the life-creating act, and God said, I'm going to create a soul.
And this is wealth. This is wealth. This is the mind, and it's not just the Christian mind. Many traditional cultures esteem children like this.
Right.
The fact that we have been in this terrible decline, I think we're at 1.6 now.
Yeah.
Children per couple. Right. That's catastrophic. If it goes a little bit lower, our culture's dead. Once we're 1.2, you're not coming back.
Right.
And some Western societies are already like that. Italy, I'm afraid, is already there.
Right.
There's no coming back from that, short of a miracle from God. That when you have a culture that does not value human life, you have a great rise of unhappiness,
Right.
which we have in every measurable way. Right? You were mentioning depression earlier. The depression measurement is just off the charts in our culture, and one of the reasons, there's a lot of things contributing to it, but one of them is the lack of children in our lives.
Exactly.
Having children in the home refreshes the heart of the mother and the father,
Yes.
and brings joy to the whole neighborhood.
Yes, yes.
A blessed Lord's Day to all of you, brothers and sisters.
For November 17th, on which we commemorate Saint Gregory of Tours.
As we begin this new course in the St. John Chrysostom Catechetical School.
Now available on both Apple and Google Play stores.